that organizations and individuals can adopt to protect technology assets and sensitive data. For our webinar today, I would present to you a seasoned group of panelists with blue blood. And for the uninitiated, when we say someone has blue blood, it refers to the fact that there are people that are currently working with or have worked with KPMG. So these panelists will be sharing knowledge and perspectives on this topic. So first on our bill is Daniel Jampo. Daniel has over 25 years of experience as an IT and information security professional. He is currently the Group Head of Investigations at Ecobank Transnational Incorporated, covering all affiliates in Africa and Europe. Previously, he has worked as the lead for the group's cyber and information security audit and assurance function. Early on in his career, he worked with KPMG's advisory team, and he is a member of the University of Ghana Medical Center IT Steering Committee. He holds an executive MBA from China Europe International Business School, a bachelor's in computer science from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and he is the immediate past president of the ISACA Accra chapter, having served on the board in 2021 and 2022. He holds ISACA certifications such as CISA, C-Risk, and Seagate. Secondly, we have Kojo Intim, who is an astute IT leader and management professional with nearly 30 years of industry experience and a proven track record in IT strategy, consulting, governance, operations and risk management, and program management. And he also responsible for the delivery of leading technology solutions, amongst others. He is currently the General Manager, Technology and Operations and CIO of the Ghana Interbank Payments and Settlement Systems Limited, who are the operators of the National Switch Infrastructure and a wholly owned subsidiary of the Central Bank of Ghana. He currently serves on the Standards Automation and Technology Working Group of the Payments Advisory Council, an advisory group to the Bank of Ghana on issues relating to electronic payment technologies and evolutions. He also serves on the steering committees of all technology partnerships of the business. Next, we have Stephen Bartel, who is a leader in KPMG's cybersecurity practice based in the US, specifically within the Privacy, Data Protection and Information Governance Service Group. He has over 25 years of experience in privacy, compliance, risk management, and examinations, and he possesses a solid background in collaborating with privacy compliance teams, business lines, and auditors to pinpoint internal risks and control deficiencies, thereby reducing regulatory compliance risk. His clientele includes some of the prominent organizations in the financial services sector, including fintech companies, along with experience as a banking regulator. And finally, we have Bright Otokuno, who is a manager at KPMG with over 9 years of professional experience in the technology and cybersecurity domain. He focuses on the firm's cybersecurity service delivery in areas such as cyber governance, risk and compliance, business continuity, data privacy, and security solutions implementation. He manages a team of cybersecurity professionals to deliver tailored support to clients across diverse industries in Ghana and across Africa. So that's the background of the panelists that'll be joining us for today's session. And as you can see from their experience, we're going to have a very fruitful discussion on cybersecurity and data privacy. So before we get into the conversations, I'd like to set the ground rules. So we're primarily going to use the chat for questions and comments. And you can post your questions or comments in the chat should you have any. And would like to set a general rule of respect. Kindly be respectful on the call and professional, and ensure that all your verbal and written communication is professional. At this juncture, I will hand over to Professor Noel Tego, who is the current KPMG Alumni Vice President based in the diaspora, and he will give us the opening remarks. So, Prof, over to you.
And thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar on cybersecurity and data privacy. I am delighted to join this session with such distinguished alumni of KPMG Ghana. Uh, as we gather in what has been called our dynamic digital age, there are certain imperatives that we have to take into consideration. One of which is cyber security and data privacy, and these have taken center stage in our very lives. Now, every organization that I know of face an evolving landscape of threats. From very, very sophisticated cyber attacks to data breaches that can quickly compromise the trust that our customers have in us and also the trust of our stakeholders. So today's discussion is really appropriate. It's not just about protecting information. I think it's also about empowering the organizations in which we work to thrive even amidst the persistent risks that we face in this digital age. Now, our distinguished set of panelists would explore how cybersecurity is evolving, I believe, how we can implement robust risk management frameworks to how we can embrace innovative technologies that can help us detect and respond swiftly to threats. Equally, I believe that data privacy isn't just about but it's about that respects and protects sensitive information and ensuring that we as businesses continue to maintain integrity and trust of our customers in all the transactions and interactions in which we engage with them. And so I'm looking forward to this webinar in which I expect that the panelists will share best practices and real-world insights on how to secure our digital assets and safeguard our personal data. And we'll also, I hope, will examine the critical interface or intersection where technology will meet legal and ethical responsibilities, because cybersecurity and personal data privacy also work within the domains of the law and our ethical responsibilities. And so wherever you are, whether you are in financial advisory, audit, or any other domain where data would underpin your decision making, I'm hopeful that the strategies that will be discussed today will be vital in ensuring that your organization's framework for dealing with digital issues will both be resilient and responsive. So I encourage you to engage actively and during the interaction time, share your experiences, ask questions, and the insights that you bring during this time, combined with all the perspectives of others, would help enrich our conversations today and hopefully drive us forward to become a better informed public in our digital journey. So thank you once again for joining us this afternoon. And I wish all of us a very fruitful engagement for this webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Noel Tego, for giving that opening remark. So we'll move on into the next phase of this alumni webinar. Before we get into the conversations, I would like to set the stage for our conversations. And for the uninitiated persons or lay persons who may not know a lot about cybersecurity and data privacy, when we talk about cybersecurity, what we really mean is the measures that you take to protect technology assets. So things like our computers, our mobile devices, and our data from attacks. So think about the kind of measures that you put in place to ensure someone doesn't break into your house, for example. to steal your physical assets like your, the latest flat screen TV that you purchase or your jewelry, but this is within the cyberspace. And these kinds of attacks can range from personal attacks on our WhatsApp accounts. That's something that's very, very common. And our social media accounts, to more sophisticated attacks such as ransomware, where an organization's computer systems and data is encrypted or hijacked with some form of demand for payments by malicious persons or attackers. Now, when we talk about data privacy, what we are actually referring to is how you control your personal information in terms of its collection, its use, and its sharing. And in Ghana, as more public services and businesses go digital, these issues are becoming increasingly important. In Ghana, recently in 2024, Ghana achieved a Tier 1 status in the 2024 Global Cybersecurity Index by the International Telecommunications Union. And this is an international body that provides some form of insight into the use of technology globally. And while this is a great achievement for Ghana to be recognized for these efforts in introducing the Cybersecurity Act, licensing cybersecurity professionals, building capacity and collaboration among others, there is still, some form of gap here, because even though we have received this significant recognition, it doesn't mean that we are immune to threats. It doesn't mean we're immune to cyber threats. So what it simply actually means is that we are doing well in laying the foundation to ensure that we put in place the robust measures, but it doesn't make us immune. The real test for us really is how we respond to these evolving threats and how we're embedding security and privacy into our everyday lives as Ghanaian individuals and businesses. We see firsthand how real these risks are, from everyday mobile money fraud to ransomware attacks on critical infrastructure, such as our national electricity company, where in 2023, nearly 500 million Ghana cedis was lost. We've seen the direct impact on everyday Ghanaians, many of whom were left without electricity in their homes due to vending systems being offline. And now with AI in the mix, that's artificial intelligence, it only gets more challenging. So to begin our discussion, we'll take a closer look at our current cybersecurity and data privacy landscape. And we're going to probe into why cybersecurity and data privacy are not just technical concerns for people who study or work in technology, but these are actually national and personal priorities. Okay, so now moving into our panel discussion, I would call on Daniel. Okay, so Daniel, we're going to start with you. And given this context that I've just set, and considering the fact that digital transformation is accelerating at speeds that many did not anticipate, how do you view the current state of cybersecurity and data privacy, and why are these themes important for us?
Thank you, Fabiola. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, you're very audible.
Okay. So good afternoon to our audience and our blue-blooded KPMG colleagues. Right. So cybersecurity, the evolution of cybersecurity has been phenomenal. I mean, on one side, it has transformed businesses. And I'm talking about, for instance, well, I have been in the banking and financial services for a long time now. So what we have seen here is from the traditional crowds in the bank, and let's say up to 100% of interactions with the banks in going through our branches. Some banks are now doing up to about 90, some up to about 95% of transactions through digital channels. I mean, different digital channels, mobile phone, internet banking, and various other interactive channels, ATMs, and so on. We have some people still coming to branches. Some banks have actually reduced their number of branches. Okay, so when you talk about telecoms, just a few years back, we were using scratch cards, and you go out of your house and you go and look for the next vendor, buy your scratch card, scratch it. I don't know whether the scratch cards are still in use now. The result is significant convenience, speed of transactions in certain industries. When you go to the hospital now, for many hospitals, they have your records on a computer. You don't have to carry your folders around and so on. Okay, so the transformation has brought a lot of very good things. You can talk about many things, Uber, delivery of food at home and all those things, which has brought a lot of transformation and actually also increased business and commerce. In the mix, other exposures have come up and in different ways. And today, if armed robbers break into our bank and decide that they want to carry the whole vault away, nobody will resist, because everything in the vault is protected. It is limited to a certain amount anyway. But the other side of exposure we are seeing now with security, and where cybersecurity comes in, is that whilst you are in your business and your transactions and access to your business is now online and virtual and driven by internet, someone sitting elsewhere poking at your business, in the case of a bank, can actually siphon money that is far more than all the business you own. Okay, and different things do happen. Data is stolen and is used for blackmailing and so on. Fabiola made reference to the electricity company incidents that happened. Okay, so on one hand, we have seen tremendous economic progress, and on the other hand, we also have exposures that we are dealing with. Okay, the Cybersecurity Authority has come in to now begin to document these and also take proactive measures to bring some confidence and structure to how we operate. And I believe that these things I have talked about are beginning to dictate what is happening on our local scene. Now, what we are seeing also are people going into cybersecurity practice, which we need a lot more of, and the certification comes in to ensure that they have the right level of qualification and practice experience, and doing the right things as well. Okay. I understand I have limited time to go through this, so I'll just do a wrap up on this. Cybersecurity actually is critical and crucial for protecting our critical infrastructure, as putting in place the right kind of security. It's crucial for business continuity, because as we prosper and as our business grows, we also need to ensure that we are able to secure what we have put online. Protection of our intellectual property, and actually at the national level, also securing our business. And privacy also ensures that we have assurance, sharing our information on various platforms, not knowing where our data is kept or saved and so on. But putting together the right privacy structures will ensure that even though our data is out there on various systems and in various companies, they are adequately protected and cannot be used without our express permission. In a nutshell,
Okay.
I think this is the situation we have now: increased business and also increased exposure to frauds, and a lot of effort going on to ensure that we have adequate environments that can carry us through these transformations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daniel, for sharing those perspectives. I think it's interesting how you took us on a journey, from I smirked when you mentioned the use of scratch cards, because it wasn't too long ago that we're using scratch cards, to recharge call credits and all that. But it's quite interesting. So as we reflect on our journey, we've moved from these manual way of doing things to more digital platforms, and you touched on the evolution of technology and how that is commensurate with the increase in the kinds of attacks and threats that we're also seeing, right? That now the conversation is now evolving into the realm of artificial intelligence. And with artificial intelligence, now proving to be very useful in many ways. Now people are relying on generative AI for all sorts of functions, at work, for personal use. And we know that with every new technology that surfaces, there are always malicious people that are seeking ways to subvert, these systems to serve their interests. So, Stephen, I'll come to you next in terms of what we can do to actually address emerging threats from emerging technologies.
Thank you. And Danny, when I reflect on your response on the speed of change, I'm reminded of I'm really going to date myself here, I believe, of Moore's Law. Moore's Law was penned by Gordon Moore, the co-founder of Intel, and he observed in 1965. So this goes way back, right? 1965, that the number of transistors on a chip doubles approximately every 2 years. Also meaning that the processing speed just doubles and quadruples exponentially. And also at the same time of Moore's Law is the cost implications goes down inversely. So the cost of processing, which was higher 2 years ago, goes down. So the speed of change is just amazing. And I believe Moore's Law still holds true. There are other laws out there now that have shortened that time from 2 years to less than 2 years. So the speed of change is here. It's been here for quite a while. And reflecting on the question posed to me about artificial intelligence and how do we maybe safeguard ourselves or prepare ourselves for these types of emerging technologies. And first, I want to acknowledge AI just serving as kind of the double-edged sword. It offers a lot of benefits for both businesses as well as consumers, but it also presents new avenues for malicious activities. When I think about AI-powered cyber attacks, they're becoming a lot more sophisticated and harder to detect. And some examples of those are, and if you haven't heard these things, phishing, I think, has been around since postal mail service. We used to get them in the mail. Then there are emails, spam mails, but now phishing has become more and more personalized. But also deep fakes are getting harder and harder and more realistic and harder to detect. I remember just earlier this week, I was watching a business news channel, and Joe Kernan is one of the speakers and hosts of that show, and they did a deep fake on him, whereas they just asked AI to create a video of Joe Kernan speaking on a specific topic. And his colleagues watched that 1-minute video, and they've been working with him for over 20 years. They had a hard time understanding whether it was him or a deep fake. This is how real these things have become, from voice replication to visualization as well. And by the way, I am real today. I am not AI generated. So AI-powered cyber attacks. There's an interesting twist too when I think about data privacy risk as we're thinking through AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's always been more effective over a large base of information. And when I think of data privacy, and if I put on my privacy hat for a few moments, there's grave concerns here. Is the information being used? If I think of about a business using AI, and if I think about privacy, are they using it in the context that it was disclosed to the data subjects and used appropriately and according to those said privacy promises? And when I think about AI technologies that are being used out there, they're grabbing personal data, not just from the collection sources, but also from publicly available information, because there's a lot out there today. What type of proactive measures should organizations look to? I go back to basic blocking and tackling, whether it's cybersecurity or privacy risk management. Take a look at your regulatory front. What are the laws and regulations that have been promulgated for the jurisdictions that you're working in or for the data subjects that you're servicing? And are you ahead of the curve, or are you being compliant with those laws and regulations? So it's making sure your organization is attuned and kept abreast with those developments, even though in some cases they're thought to be kind of laggards, coming up behind the technology changes. When I think about technology and organizational controls for this type of subject matter, I challenge my CISO clients talking about their advanced security measures. What are they using, and are they using similar tools, AI-driven security tools, to help bolster their cybersecurity defenses that can help identify and respond to threats more real time than after the fact? And of course, regular security audits and vulnerability assessments. Those type of defenses still need to be very robust and frequent. When I also think a key aspect is the human aspect, building awareness within your organization and with your stakeholders, through education, through webinars such as this, to help educate people on these emerging risks and what are the proper practices to mitigate IA related threats to either your organization or to your personal data. And then lastly, as I'll round out here, is one thing we always endear with our frameworks and our risk assessments is taking a look at ethical AI development. Does our organization promote responsible AI development that includes ethical considerations, transparency, and accountability? And these things, these type of initiatives within your organization, they can't be siloed. You need a cross-disciplinary team to assess the potential impacts before your AI technologies are deployed. So just in closing on this question, just remember ongoing vigilance within your organization. And yeah, I'll pause there. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Stephen. I think it's quite interesting the angle that you came from. I mean, given your experience as a compliance and risk professional and focusing on privacy, when it comes to AI, just a follow-up question in terms of compliance, do you think the use of AI makes compliance more difficult, especially for organizations?
I think it makes it extremely difficult. And I think we will address some of this, or I'll reinforce this later in the conversation. But when I think about data collection, particularly around personal data, have you as an organization collected it through permissible services? And when you collect it, are you disclosing to the data subject what you're going to be using it for and how long are you going to be keeping it, right? And ensuring your organization with these new technologies are doing the proper data impact assessments at appropriate times.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Stephen. So in terms of what you said about how AI is making, things like phishing more sophisticated and easier, making people more susceptible to them. I'd move on to Ojo to just share some perspectives in terms of how these persistent threats around phishing, gravitating into things like business email compromise, how AI is making these things more prevalent. But maybe before Kojo comes in, I'll just give some insight into business email compromise. In our line of work, it's something that we come across quite often. You typically wouldn't expect organizations that have implemented controls to be susceptible to these kinds of attacks. And maybe for those that may not be very familiar with the terminology, business email compromise is when you have malicious individuals or attackers taking advantage of existing email threads and request that the recipient of the email completes a particular task, such as paying a vendor or paying a supplier. And typically organizations would have details about their suppliers, their bank details, because they deal with them often. But in such instances, the malicious person would request that a payment is made into an updated bank account or into updated bank account details. And you'd often find that organizations tend to fall for these kinds of threats. So it's interesting to see how AI would make this even more difficult or make organizations more susceptible to business email compromises, and the kinds of strategies that we need to think about when it comes to addressing this particular issue. So I think, Kojo, would you like to share some perspectives on how you think individuals and organizations can implement strategies to address these kinds of threats, even referencing the issues that we've had in the past with things like ransomware affecting our critical national infrastructure?
Good afternoon to all Blue Bloods, and thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Finally, I'm over my tech issues. Very interesting insights being shared on this webinar. But to come to it, advanced persistent threats, as the name suggests, arises out of the need for the various actors wanting access to what they believe will be useful data or information for their purposes, for whatever purpose they want to. And so that is why they remain persistent. As for the issue of threats, as long as your computer is on and connected to anything, the threats will be there. Incidentally, the advances in technology which enable us to be productive are the same tools that these threat actors use. And so for the purposes of organizations wanting to do their business peacefully, there are a couple of prevention strategies that we need to quickly adopt, which is regular backups of your data and information. in such a way that you are certain that that backup that you have taken is clean and has not been infected with any malware of any sort or whatever. Additionally, we need to also make sure that the systems that we have in place have been updated with the most up-to-date backups to prevent the exploitation of various vulnerabilities. One of the basic things that we all would know by now is that for any computer or device that you're using, you must have some antivirus on it. And so that must also be in place to ensure that you are protecting the data and the device from these threat actors. On a technical point of view, it's useful, particularly for organizations, to also segment your infrastructure such that the most critical parts of your infrastructure are further and further away from general users, and that access to those critical pieces of infrastructure are protected along the chain. And once that segmentation is in place, it gives you the the confidence that before it is accessed, you might have picked up whatever threat is along the way. Critical above everything else that we need to be doing is to ensure that all the human beings around the technology are properly educated about the risks of these threats, be it ransomware or, for that matter, any other threat that is available on the internet. Particularly when it comes to emails and so on and so forth, we would also need to put in specific measures to provide processes or technologies for scanning and making sure that these emails and communication that you have allowed to come to you has not been embedded with malware or Trojans that you would not like to have. And so to that extent, you must make some investments into the technologies that allow you to scan and make sure that whatever is coming to you is clean before you do that. In addition, and whilst we do this, we cannot forget that because of the persistence of these kind of threats, we should always sleep with one eye open. And that is monitoring our systems constantly to ensure that immediately anything comes up, we are able to pick them up. In spite of all the technologies and security that we are putting in place, we need to keep our eyes open, because as technology evolves, and particularly with the reducing costs of some of those naughty technologies, it becomes a lot easier for threat actors to try and access your systems and compromise them. To be successful at some of these things, particularly as organizations and even as individuals, we need to have a proper program around which we manage the security of our systems. And so you would have, for most organizations, to put up a framework that you adopt, which builds the culture and the practices around the organization for the implementation of your security measures. Now, try as we can, or we would, in doing all this, we get to the point where from time to time, we may be exposed to something that we blinked on, or something that we were not looking after well. And so we should have proper incident response plans. That is the what ifs. And in the event that you are hit by anything, you follow the response plan to quickly recover and restore your service. Also, we also need to make sure that we are consistently keeping ourselves informed about the threats around us, because threat actors are continuously evolving. And as Stephen mentioned, with the evolution of AI, this is making it even more complicated. Whereas some time ago, you needed a threat actor to be sitting somewhere to be trying to access your system. With AI, they can set up themselves in multiple different of ways to compromise your system. And so we will need to make sure that we are staying informed, connected to other like-minded organizations and institutions, so that we are constantly aware of the threats that we may likely be exposed to. For country-specific considerations, we should be looking at, as an industry or a country, the regulatory compliance frameworks that we use, and particularly the enforcement. Because in the light of one actor being compromised, the likelihood of other actors or businesses may also be compromised, in the sense that doing business requires you to be partnering and communicating with other organizations. And so we should be sure that every other party that we are working with is also taking the appropriate measures to secure their systems. In that regard, a regulatory compliance is a very critical part of the jigsaws that we need to complete to make sure that we are in a good place. Not to say that collaboration is a critical issue here. And again, I go back to the speed at which these threats are evolving and the technologies that accompany them. It is impossible for one entity or one individual to keep up. And partnerships are the way to go in terms of being able to identify such threats, understand the implications to you, and be able to take up remedial action as and when you are exposed to them. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Kojo, for adding those perspectives as well. I mean, you did highlight a few things around basic housekeeping when it comes to ensuring that our systems are constantly protected. You know, things like antivirus, ensuring that we are segregating our networks, which is best practice, ensuring that we are making the necessary investments in the tools and infrastructure to support the strategies to address these risks and threats. And then you also highlighted, you know, on awareness and education as well, playing a crucial role in all of this. So in terms of awareness, and you know, we've talked about that it's featured through the discussions we've been having so far. You'd often realize that majority of the breaches, according to data breach incident reports, on average, about 70% of these successful breaches or attacks are due to the fact that someone clicked a phishing link or someone divulged sensitive information, more often than not. So we tend to find ourselves in this web of, you know, we are supposed to follow this checklist of things, but at the same time, it's as though, you know, we put in these measures and they are not working, right? So in recent times, since, you know, WhatsApp became very popular, we're seeing WhatsApp hacks happen almost every day. People are in group chats. Someone would post, so this person has been hacked. So admin, remove the person from